is up, guys? Happy Monday. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to Thanksgiving week. We're going to have a weird schedule, a lot of football games sprinkled throughout the next few days. I started the live stream a little bit early. I hope that's okay. If you guys missed the start time, you guys can always go back and check out some of that stuff. But we're going to hang out here for a little bit. I'm going to go over my post-game notes, which you guys can get access to on the fantasyfellowship.com. Just become a member there. It's $8 a month. You guys can try the 2-week trial for $5. Better deals the longer you buy. But we're going to just review the snaps, the routes, and basically just kind of breeze through each game and just say, is there anything that we need to be taking note of? Starting with this Thursday night football game, the Buffalo Bills fall to the Houston Texans. Josh Allen, man, he looked not good, and he was getting sacked. He was under pressure pretty much all game long. James Cook looked fantastic. Like, he was really the only one that showed up. I think Khalil Shakir got there at the end with all his targets and his long catch and runs. But rough game for Josh Allen, sacked 8 times, I believe it was. We didn't really learn anything here. Keon Coleman continues to be inactive for this team, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. They didn't really delve into why he was inactive one more game. So we saw Gabe Davis kind of step in as the number 2 receiver, 36 snaps, 28 total routes. Josh Palmer is healthy again. Elijah Moore, Terrell Shavers, just kind of a bunch of junk here. Besides Khalil Shakir, they don't have viable weapons, which is going to be a concern, and especially with Dalton Kincaid out here. Dawson Knox is fine as a traditional inline blocking tight end, but he's not really a weapon in the receiving game. So I think the lack of weapons really hurt Buffalo. Being able to get the ball off quickly hurt Buffalo in this one. So we didn't really learn too much here, but you bring the heat on Josh Allen, and you can beat Buffalo. This is a tough game, though. This one was in Houston. Houston's kind of fighting for their lives. So I don't know if we learned too much for this one in fantasy. You're going to keep starting Josh Allen, James Cook, and Khalil Shakir. We're going to watch and see if Dalton Kincaid is back. We'll get some practice reports in a couple days, but rough one for Buffalo, and hopefully you were able to survive. If you had Josh Allen, hopefully you were able to survive this low game of his season. Houston Texans, what did we learn? It continues to be the Woody Marks show. He ends up playing 41 snaps out of 59. So that's, 2/3 of the snaps here. He runs 15 of the 31 routes. They did kind of split some of the guys in here, and they were rotating a lot of other backs here on some plays. But the thing that take note of, again, 16 carries to Nick Chubb's 6. Like, Woody Marks is the clear running back 1 here. And I know he's only gotten, some floor games last few weeks, but touchdowns are going to come for Woody Marks. I would like to see more receptions too. Maybe with the transition back to CJ Stroud, we see some more throws to the running back position. But Woody Marks, 8-point floor. I think you take that and you're going to keep starting that as your running back too. Now, Davis Mills, he continues to win games for the Houston Texans and keep their season alive. I think we're going to get TJ Stroud. I thought I saw a note today that he's cleared concussion protocols and he's going to start again in week number 13 here. So Davis Mills, thank you. Tip of the hat for you. In Superflex leagues, you were great while it lasted. And who knows, maybe he got some money coming his way in the offseason if he's, I don't know if he's up for contract, but he's a very capable backup, and he's one of those guys that should get another contract somewhere. Now, what did we learn the most from the Texans? It's Jaden Higgins. Dynasty guys, you're happy with what we're finally seeing here. It took them all season, but then the last, week 10 and 11, we saw Jaden Higgins finally hop Hutchinson and Christian Kirk, and he was running the majority of snaps and the routes. And now that's coming into fruition with fantasy points. He's catching touchdowns. He's leading the team in targets, 4 catches on the day, 13.8 fantasy points. Very encouraging Jaden Higgins numbers here. Now he's been doing it with Davis Mills, so we don't know if CJ Stroud's going to be jiving with him, but I think it's very clear, like, Higgins, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for a wingman to Nico Collins, and Higgins has emerged, and he's starting to be a consistent option here. So he's a redraft target on your waiver wires this week. We've been kind of talking about him the last couple of weeks, so hopefully you already grabbed him. But this looks really promising. And it was a floor game for Nico. Only 3 targets, 3 catches. He had some big plays, but a bit of a bummer there. We wanted more. But there just wasn't a lot of juice. This was a heavy defensive game. Dalton Schultz. And the one thing I learned a couple weeks ago is we just don't start tight ends against the Bills. Dalton Schultz only had 1 catch for 8 yards in this one. So a pretty frustrating day. And it looks like I got the Christian Kirk number wrong here. I'm not sure He did have a big game, if I remember correctly. So 1.4, I'll get that updated. But Texans continue to play good defense and take care of the football. And they're going to be a tough team here down the stretch. Now, let's move into the Sunday games. You have the New York Jets and the Baltimore Ravens. We continue to not really care about the Jets for fantasy. I think if you have Breece Hall, you're going to keep playing him. I'm still pretty upset about Tyrod Taylor getting the start here, although he does elevate some of the receivers and some of the other weapons here just in terms of getting targets. Like Breece Hall is going to benefit from targets and some of the receivers will. But I want to see Justin Fields back out there one more try. They gave him a lot of money to do so. So I think it's kind of a mistake to be playing Tyrod. At least, let's let Justin Fields get a few more games under his belt. But for fantasy, you're going to keep playing Breece Hall and then John Mechie and Adonai Mitchell. These are the two guys that are going to benefit the most from Tyrod Taylor compared to Justin Fields. They're going to get more accurate targets. This was the John Mechie game, 7 targets, 6 catches, and a touchdown, 18 fantasy points. Adonai Mitchell still had 7 targets in this one. He had one big kind of catch and run, but it wasn't until later in the game. The more consistent option will be John Mechie. And I've always liked John Mechie's game. It's taken him a while to stay healthy. And I think he had some I can't remember what it was, but he had some health issues. But if he can kind of catch on and finally do something, he should be picked up in dynasty leagues and redraft leagues. I think he's the number 1 receiver right now. And that shows in the snaps, the routes, the targets, everything's flowing to John Mechie. And I still think AD Mitchell's worth picking up. Mason Taylor continues to be, a tight end 2 option. I don't love his fantasy output here, but he is a guy that still intrigues me a little bit, especially in dynasty leagues. So didn't really learn much from the Jets, but John Mechie, let's pick him up, and AD Mitchell as well. I think both guys are very interesting. Ravens, Lamar Jackson has not looked like himself since he returned. Only another game, another dud here from our quarterback 1. And I've been ranking him, I think, as my QB 1 or 2. I might have to change some of that, but they're going to get the Bengals on Thanksgiving night. Derrick Henry, vintage game here. He gets his 23 total touches, 23 fantasy points. That's pretty solid. They are working back in Justice Hill. Keaton Mitchell continues to get a few stuff, but really, it's Henry, it's Zay Flowers. That's kind of about it. You're going to keep starting Lamar Jackson, but Mark Andrews at this point, he's basically a 2/3, 70% player, getting targets, getting rushing attempts, getting a lot of attention near the red zone. Just a dud from a fantasy day here. So I'm still interested in Mark Andrews if you have him in a one tight end, in a redraft, where you're starting a tight end. I think I'm still open to Mark Andrews as a fringe tight end 1, but we don't really have a lot of faith in this team. But we're going to get a good look at him. Like I said, Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, you're going to keep playing Lamar, Henry, and Zay Flowers. But the rest is a question. I do want to see if Rashad Bateman comes back. And I was hoping we'd see more Isaiah Likely, but he just really hasn't taken off like we remember seeing him in 2024. So the Ravens didn't really learn anything new, but hopefully Lamar Jackson can get back to – he's just not really – being an effective runner right now. And I don't know if that injury has limited him just a little bit. Oh my goodness. The Vikings and the Packers. This one's looking pretty bad for Minnesota. This was an embarrassing game. JJ McCarthy could not get anything done. He was under pressure all game long. I think they had 5 or 6 sacks on McCarthy. Not a single player over 10 fantasy points. Aaron Jones continues to have a high floor with those receptions and the targets. Him and Jordan Mason kind of split the carries down the middle, 9-8. Jordan Mason continues to look good on some of his runs. No receiving workload for him. But man, I don't have a lot of faith in this Vikings offense the rest of the way. And then I did see that JJ McCarthy's in the concussion protocol for this week. So we don't even know if he's going to play. And they're going to be playing Seattle. So I think if you're starting Vikings this weekend, like you can play Justin Jefferson, who continues to have an 8 to 10 point floor, but man, we don't have our stud ace Justin Jefferson that we drafted early in the season. So I'm pretty concerned here. I don't want to play Jordan Addison, and we've been benching TJ Hawkinson for a few weeks now. You can maybe play Aaron Jones. I don't even know who the Vikings backup QB2 is. Maybe Carson Wentz is back, but it's looking pretty glum for the Vikings right now. I don't really know what to do with these guys. So play Justin Jefferson, but the rest I think we're going to kind of avoid. And your Packers, man, this was a game where, and this happens every now and then, but I know the Packers they were looking at Thanksgiving. They got this big game against Detroit. They didn't really have to do too much. They gave their backup running back 28 carries, 2 catches, 30 total touches for Emmanuel Wilson. He delivers with 2 touchdowns, 26 fantasy points. Christian Watson looked good, leading the team with targets and receptions on the day. But Love really he spread the ball out. He didn't really have to do too much. He made, timely throws. He moved him into the red zone. But this was clearly a day where they got the run game going. Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks combined for 36 carries. I think going forward, we don't give a crap about the Packers tight end. It's a 3-way committee. Fitzpatrick, Wiley, Musgrave. We're not starting a Packers tight end ever at this point until Kraft returns next year. But for the receivers, you're going to keep playing Christian Watson. I think he's the one guy that I had to start a Packers receiver. I want him over Dobbs right now. We'll see if Matthew Golden can play on Thursday, but we're not using him in fantasy. You're going to stick with Watson and Dobbs. And then maybe Jayden Reed comes back. I don't know if they're going to force him back on a short week here, but I'm expecting Jayden Reed to be back week 14 and get him ready for the fantasy playoffs. So for now, it looks like Jacobs is going to play on Thursday. I think you can play Jacobs. You can play Watson as a wide receiver 3. Love's going to be a fringe QB1 for me in this one. I'm really excited. This is going to be a good game on Thanksgiving to open it up. Alrighty, the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Chicago Bears. I think if Rodgers would have been able to play, they probably would have pulled this off. They were a pretty good team here, and I was messing up here on some of these fantasy points here. But Jaylen Warren was able to play through injury. Kent Gainwell, though, actually leads the team in snaps, routes, 6 receptions on 6 targets. He kind of took over as the receiving back. Jaylen Warren, 18 total touches, no targets. So they're kind of just sticking them into these roles. They only played 2 running backs the whole game. But right now, man, if this is how it's going to look going forward, Kenneth Gainwell needs to be picked up as a really interesting running back 2-3 flex in PPR leagues if he's going to be the receiving back. I'm still going to play Jaylen Warren, but man, this workload for Gainwell right now, and he's doing a good job with it too. He's always been kind of not a very exciting player. He's always been good at running the ball and receiving the ball, but now he's starting to actually accumulate fantasy points with his touches. So very interested in this backfield going forward. Didn't really learn much from this one, though. Without Aaron Rodgers, we did see DK Metcalf get involved. Got some carries, got some targets, got a touchdown for you. We just don't care about the other receivers. They really needed to get one more receiver out there. I don't even care if it would have been Allen Lazard or something. They need a number 2 receiver to be Metcalf's wingman. It's kind of been the tight end committee. That's what has been the number 2 receiver. That's where most of these targets and these receptions are going. And we honestly just can't use a Steelers tight end just because they're all going to mix and match. They're all going to get 2-3 plays per game. This is kind of a boring offense for fantasy football. You can keep playing Metcalf as a wide receiver 3 flex. And I think at this point, I'm going to rank Warren as a low-end RB2 with Gainwell as a new RB3 flex. And hopefully Rodgers, I believe they said he's good to go. But Steelers, man, they dropped another game here. And I believe the Ravens have taken the lead in the AFC North. Let's talk about the leaders of the NFC North here, the Chicago Bears. It's crazy, man. They keep finding new ways to win games. They were playing with the lead in this one, and they were able to hold off the Steelers there at the end, but they had to fight for it for a little bit. They played with the lead at the beginning, and it was a good back and forth game, but when they got the lead, they finally held on to it. Caleb Williams was throwing touchdowns. DJ Moore with the vintage game here, 2 touchdowns for him. Odunze still a little inconsistent, but you're going to keep plugging him away. The guy that we do have to talk about, though, is Luther Burden, who has completely taken over the number 3 job. It took him a little bit longer than we wanted, but he's making big plays. I think he's a redraft ad. I don't know if he's a start yet because he's still the clear number 3, number 4 target on this offense. And, you're going to keep playing Odunze, and I think DJ Moore now needs to keep being played. But if anything happens to one or 2 of those guys, Burden's going to be in our starting lineups for fantasy. So he's a priority waiver wire ad if available. And then Colston Loveland, man, starting to take over as the tight end 1 here, playing one more snap and running more routes than Cole Kmet. Lately, it's been, especially at the beginning of the year, it was Kmet being the lead tight end, but it looks like they're finally seeing the light with Loveland. And at this point, I kind of want to just keep ranking Loveland as a low-end tight end 1. He looks really good, and this is a small little glimpse here. Caleb Williams throwing touchdowns. They have the backfield split here between Monangai and Swift, but looking good to the future with Burden and Loveland. And I guess Monangai, too. He led the team in carries. DeAndre Swift had a fumble early in this one, and he just couldn't really recover in the fantasy points department. But Monangai, he might be their guy going forward here to continue to lead this team. And to see him lead in snaps and routes and touches, like that's pretty impressive. So trending up for Monangai, trending down a little bit for Swift, trending up for the rookie receiving options that they took this year. So good win for the Bears. Alrighty, the New England Patriots, Cincinnati Bengals, interesting game. We got some defensive touchdowns in this one. Ramondre Stevenson was finally back, and TreVeyon Henderson held him off, man. Henderson with 18 total touches running the ball. Ramondre did get 6 carries. Stevenson, he got some goal line opportunities in this one, but I think they got down there twice, and they just kept shutting it down. Henderson continues to be not necessarily the bell cow back, but the clear lead back. So I think if you have Henderson, this is a good win. Keep playing him. Stevenson's just a boom bust touchdown dependent guy at this point. He's only going to get 7 to 10 touches per game. Henderson's the guy you want. Drake May, just another game, spreading the ball out a ton. But it was the Hunter Henry peekaboo game where he just kind of disappears some weeks, and then some weeks he just comes out and he's like the best tight end of the week. 10 targets, 7 receptions, 24.5 fantasy points. You want to start tight ends against this Cincinnati Bengals team. They are very, very bad. They're the worst team against tight end fantasy points right now. So Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, they're going to be on the menu, I think, on Thursday night for me. But just spreading the ball out. Kyle Williams took a step back with Kayshon Boutte back in the mix here. Just spread out. Everyone's making big plays. Kayshon Boutte remains, him and Matt Collins are kind of like Spider-Man memeing each other. Run a lot of snaps and routes. They just don't get a ton of targets. So I think I'm nervous here for fantasy. Like, keep starting Drake May and TreVeyon. I think you can play Hunter Henry every week and just take what he's going to give you. But Stephon Diggs tends to, come and go. I think in primetime situations, I'm going to play Stephon Diggs, but he's a flex right now. He kind of disappears in some games. All right. And hopefully this is our last check-in on Joe Flacco. I don't really think we learned anything much here. T. Higgins got hurt in this one. He's already ruled out for Thursday Night Football, by the way. So it's going to be Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown. The one thing that I think we'll talk about is Mitchell Tinsley looked good. 6 targets. He's the clear guy that's going to be the number 3, I think, on Thursday Night Football here with Higgins missing. I think Yoshivas got hurt, so we're going to watch for him too. So maybe it's Mitchell Tinsley on waiver wire tomorrow night. But Mike Gesicki came back, stepped right into his route running role. He leads the tight ends in routes that had previously been Noah Fant. 6 targets, 4 catches. He might be someone worth looking into on Thursday night as well. So that's the one takeaway here. Chase Brown continued to look good with his touches. Oh my goodness, the New York Giants Detroit Lions game. That was probably the game of the day. Going into, I guess there's multiple games of the day, but Jameis Winston, holy smokes, man. Someone's got to pay him and let him start for a season again. We need more Jameis Winston in our lives. Catches a touchdown, gets a big flea flicker touchdown to Wan'Dale Robinson. I think Isaiah Hodgins caught a touchdown. There's just a lot of huge moments in this game. And we didn't really learn anything. Just Wan'Dale Robinson, though, like we got to give him some credit. He's a good football player. Not just a gimmicky guy. Teams have used him as a gimmicky guy in the past, but he's a deep threat. He can do kind of everything. He's a really small receiver, but he is a very well-rounded, underrated player. Tyrone Tracy, another guy, underrated player. I know Cam Skattebo was a beast early in the season, but we got a little glimpse here at Tyrone Tracy, and he's a good player. 34 rushing attempts between these two backs. So Tracy is going to be a running back too for me going forward. And Singletary, they still like him in goal line and short yardage stuff. He's just kind of like an innings eater. He's just gonna take hits. He's going to get short yardage stuff. He's going to be a goal line back. He's a low end RB2 flex play, kind of like in your Ramondre Stevenson bucket of backs. But Darius Slayton, his first game back from a hamstring, but Isaiah Hodgins played more snaps and routes. We'll see if that sticks going forward. They might have found their top 3 receivers, though, with Hodgins emerging. And then Theo Johnson, man, I think you're pretty excited about Theo Johnson in a dynasty format. He's going to continue to be a fringe tight end 1 for me in my rankings. So didn't really learn anything, but Jameis Winston, it's good to have you back, buddy. And hopefully we're going to see probably Jackson Dart maybe this week, but I do want to see Jameis Winston play and start somewhere next year. All righty, Jahmyr Gibbs in the Detroit Lions, just a career day, 55 fantasy points here. So hopefully you didn't have to play against Jahmyr Gibbs, but my goodness, he might be the fantasy MVP when it's all said and done. I know Jonathan Taylor's right up there with him, but Jahmyr Gibbs, he's just a different animal. 15 rushing attempts, 11 receptions on the day, the game-winning touchdown at the end of the day. Awesome game. David Montgomery, man, I don't think I have a lot of faith in Montgomery in my lineup anymore as a running back too. He tends to fade away, and he's basically he needs a touchdown for us to even care about him in our fantasy lineup. So he's in that Ramondre, Devin Singletary bucket for me. He's not a must-start player at this point. And then you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, just maybe being one of the most consistent and best fantasy receivers in fantasy football for really like the last 3-4 years. He's just phenomenal. Another 30-point fantasy game for Amon-Ra as the lead receiver here. Jameson Williams, we see the ugly Jameson Williams 0 again. I think you're going to play him. You gotta just roll with it. This is what it is. This is the Jameis roller coaster. And you got to get those zeros in order to get some of those 20-point bangers. So if you have questions on him, I'm sure we'll talk about him later. And then Brock Wright, we don't care about the Lions tight end. Brock Wright did get hurt. I don't know if he's going to play Thursday, but frustrating. Like the fact that they won the game is pretty impressive because they kind of had no business winning in this. The Giants blitzed them. They were getting to Goff. They were hitting the Lions with Wandale and Tyrone and Theo and just all these big plays offensively for the Giants. But Jahmyr Gibbs said, I got this. So we'll see what happens. Big game Thursday, Thanksgiving opener, Lions, Packers. You're going to keep playing Goff as he's more of a super flex QB2, but he could be your low-end QB1 this week. You're going to keep playing Gibbs and Amon-Ra. Jameson and Montgomery are more flex decisions at this point. Alrighty. This was not as exciting as Lions Giants, but this one did go to overtime as well, and it was a pretty good finish. Daniel Jones ends up with a solid day, almost 17 fantasy points. Michael Pittman catches a touchdown. Tyler Warren gets enough there to get you 9.5 fantasy points, but it's Drew Ogletree catching the dang touchdown. So that was frustrating. I'm not really sure we learned anything from this team. This is what it's been. Jonathan Taylor, he gets 16 carries. He gets a catch, 8.6 fantasy point floor. I think you just take your medicine and hope for bigger days ahead. The Chiefs were really able to stop him and limit him from having big plays. And they made Daniel Jones beat them, and he really wasn't able to do that. They got him into a lot of 3rd and long situations all day. Alec Pierce didn't have a big game. He only had 2 targets, 1 catch. I know I had been saying to start Alec Pierce. I think I'm still going to start him. But this was, bullets were flying, and Daniel Jones was targeting Pittman and Tyler Warren. I think those are the 2 guys that you're going to continue to put out there as your weapons. And then Pierce is still going to be a flex. It sucks because I really like Josh Downs, but he's just behind. He's the clear number 3 slot receiver, and he just doesn't really have a consistent role for fantasy. So what did we learn here from the Colts? This was a very winnable game. This is probably how the Colts season is going to end, man. It's going to be one of those games where Jonathan Taylor kind of gets limited, and it's up to Daniel Jones in the passing offense to make a move, and it just never happened. Kansas City Chiefs. Kareem Hunt with 30 carries, 3 receptions. I think he had 1 or 2 touchdowns in this one. He was just he was the workhorse. We did see Rashee Rice get free for a couple big plays, a lot of catch and run play. He had, I think, 2 40+ yard plays in this one. He led the team in targets, receptions. Him and Kareem Hunt were the ones that won this game. Pat Mahomes didn't even have himself that good of a game, but he was hitting his checkdowns. We have 3 receptions to Hunt, 3 to Brashard Smith, 2 to Clyde Edwards-Helaire back with the Chiefs. So it was a lot of dink and dunk stuff here and a lot of running back play from Andy Reid, which concerns me. But when he needed a big play, Rice was there. Xavier Worthy made a couple big catches, and then Travis Kelce, you're going to keep playing him, 8.4 points. You'll be fine here. So we didn't really learn anything here. What happens when Isaiah Pacheco comes back? And I want to keep playing Kareem Hunt, and they might keep doing this. Hunt might just keep getting, 15 to 20 carries in the goal line work. So not really sure we learned anything new. Keep playing your Chiefs, and we'll see if Pacheco can come back and complicate this for us. But a huge game on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. I'm pretty excited about this Thanksgiving lineup that we got this year. Alrighty. Seahawks, Titans. We don't really need to talk much about this one. It was the Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's just so good. Multiple touchdowns, huge plays. Dude's just on one right now. He's got a legit chance at 2,000 yards this year. So I love JSN. I don't want to play Cooper Kupp. I don't want to play Rashid Shaheed right now. These guys are not productive. They're not consistent. The thing that we did learn, though, is a slight shift towards Kenneth Walker bell cow, 30 snaps to Charbonnet's 15. So he doubled him up. He ran 16 routes to 7 routes. He gets 12 carries to 6 carries. So it's basically a 66% split towards Kenneth Walker. And the thing that I like about this is they're using Kenneth Walker again as a receiver. He was so good in that department last year, and I think they're finding that out again. And we're going to see Kenneth Walker continue to be the team's lead back. They're still going to use Charbonnet when they get down to the goal line. Walker he had a carry. I think they're on like the 2 or the 3 yard line to go into the end zone, and he just gets blown up for -4 yards. It was one of those plays where it's like, he finally gets a goal line opportunity, and he just gets absolutely destroyed by a wall of players. So that was the main takeaway here. Keep playing Kenneth Walker, keep playing JSN. Darnold's a super flex QB2. We don't really want to be messing with him in a 1 QB league. Charbonnet's in that bucket of your Ramondres, your other big backs that can get a touchdown, Singletaries, that kind of thing. And then AJ Barner, 4 targets, 2 catches, a bit of a dud after his big 10 catch game last week. So Seahawks are pretty simple, man. It's JSN, Walker, and we'll consider some of the other guys in deeper formats. All righty, Tennessee Titans. We have a Cam Ward mini breakout game here. His best fantasy day of the year, almost 24 fantasy points. He ran for a touchdown. He threw a touchdown. Looking like we got something to work with for the future here. The Titans are they got a bunch of junk here. Look at the names on this list. But Shamir DK, he should have been picked up, I think, and held on to the last couple of weeks, but he's going to be a waiver wire guy this week if he's out there. 21 fantasy points. That was with a punt return for a touchdown as well. He led the team in targets with 7, 5 catches on the day. Like, he's a fun, fast player. And I think as long as he keeps getting these snaps and these route opportunities, he's going to keep getting targets, and they're going to keep finding ways to get him the ball. So I don't know if I'm ever going to feel good, like, at least for right now. Like, are we going to feel good starting Shamir DK? No, but we want to see if he can continue to build on this. He's going to be a wide receiver 3 flex rank for me going forward. And then I will note Xavier Restrepo finally out there on the field making some plays, 5 targets on the day. He might be a guy that continues to rise up the depth chart here. We did note before the week that the Seahawks are bad against fantasy tight ends, and we saw 11 targets to the tight ends here for Tennessee, 9 receptions, 18.1 fantasy points. So just something to note in the future. If you're playing a tight end against Seattle, expect good stuff. And the Titans have been using Okonkwo and Helm, in this duo all season long, and they're just both kind of eating into each other's ceiling. So it's unfortunate for fantasy, but they are reliable security blankets for Cam Ward right now. And I don't know, there's signs of life here for the Titans. I know they didn't win. They've won 1 game all year, but to see Cam Ward finally get loose, run the ball, make some big plays, get some touchdowns, that was nice to see. And then the running backs, it was more of a Tony Pollard day, 11 carries to Tajay's 3. They both get 4 catches in this one. Maybe that's shifting back to Tony Pollard right now, but both guys will be low-end RB2 flex plays at best. Oh, my goodness. The afternoon slate. I don't really want to talk about the Browns very much here. Quinshon Judkins, you're going to keep playing him. He did leave. Dylan Sampson came in and caught a big touchdown play. For fantasy, man, Shedeur Sanders did look better this week with practicing and all that good stuff. He's going to be ranked probably as a low-end QB2 for me this weekend. They already named him the starter, even with Dylan Gabriel clearing concussion protocols. So we're going to be looking at Sanders, I think, going forward. I just don't want to start anybody on this team. No Jerry Jeudy for me, no Tillman, no Bond. I'm not messing with these receivers yet. Fannin, I guess Harold Fannin Jr. is really the only other option worth playing in fantasy football right now. Njoku just got completely left behind in the dust here. This is Fannin's team. Fannin will be a low tight end 1 for me. And then keep playing Judkins. We'll talk about Sanders in Superflex leagues. And then let's pick up Dylan Sampson in redraft leagues. He should be picked up. Raiders. Ashton Genty, 17 carries, 7 targets, 7 catches, 24 fantasy points. He gets the receiving touchdown at the end. But this Raiders team is just absolute garbage. They fired Chip Kelly. offensive line's not giving Geno Smith time. And I like Geno Smith. Like Geno Smith he's a good quarterback. And this is just not a healthy offense right now. He's getting hammered, can't run the ball. They're always behind with penalties and just always behind. Brock Bowers, 9 targets, 6 catches. You'll take that as a floor game, but pretty frustrating day. Besides Ashton Jeanty, at least getting us some fantasy points. Trey Tucker, 10 targets on the day, 3 receptions, and a lot of these were end zone shots. Like they do a lot of fun deep shots with Trey Tucker. So I'm going to keep playing Trey Tucker. I suppose if I'm in a disgusting spot and I want to play Tyler Lockett at the flex, that's okay. It's Tucker and Lockett as the 2 receivers. You're going to keep playing Brock Bowers, keep playing Jeanty. Michael Mayer did get hurt in this one. No, not that we were using him. That I think that actually hurts the offense because he's a good all-around tight end. But man, we're pretty much done with the Raiders for 2025. It's pretty ugly. Alrighty, my Jacksonville Jags, Arizona Cardinals. No Brian Thomas Jr. in this one, but they do get Brenton Strange back. And I will say, Brenton Strange, man, we've been calling to add him the last couple weeks, and he looked like a huge difference maker. He only had 5 targets, but he caught all 5 of his passes. He was in some big catch and run situations, 14.3 fantasy points on the day. I believe he led the team in yards in this one. Huge day for him. He's going to be a tight end 1 for me in my rankings. And then at this point, Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington, this is a nice duo. Both guys that get open quick. Trevor Lawrence is comfortable throwing them. Jacoby Myers almost had another touchdown here, but the ball was tipped at the line. It got intercepted, yada, yada. Even if Brian Thomas Jr. comes back, I already did my start-sit charts, which if you guys are on the fantasyfellowship.com, you guys can check those out for week 13. But I think with Brian Thomas Jr. even playing in week 13, I'm still going to have Myers, Washington ranked as wide receiver 3 flexes for us. So those guys are looking good. And then I feel like an idiot, man. Everything was pointing to Bashal Tutin this week, and it was the Travis Etienne game. He came out and was making big plays. He got him down there to score the first touchdown. He looked really, really good in this one, and he just dominated the snaps, routes, touches, everything. He's going to keep earning a strong RB2 ranking from me. And then I know Trevor Lawrence, man, I get it. He makes some bad plays, but he was actually making some of his best throws yesterday. The sack fumble, he should have felt that guy coming off that one side and prevented that. The one interception was tipped in the red zone. And then the other 2 interceptions were, probably shouldn't have done that, but those were both great plays by the defender. They both jumped these routes and were coming in hot. And I would rather Trevor Lawrence, the way he played was aggressive yesterday. I want him to stay aggressive. And if we're going to, make an omelet, we got to break some eggs. He still won this game for them. He was clutch when they needed it. And then just hold on to Tutin. He still is a guy that I think could be something for us at some point this season. Arizona Cardinals, we didn't really learn much here. You're going to keep collecting the Magillion Trey McBride points every week. And then Michael Wilson is developing here into a really nice piece. And we don't know if Marvin Harrison's going to play in week 13. Even if Marvin Harrison Jr. plays, I want Michael Wilson in my lineup as a wide receiver 3 flex. I might even have Michael Wilson ranked higher than Marvin Harrison Jr. this week if he goes. Greg Dortch still making plays. I think if Marvin does play, that's going to probably remove Dortch from my flex territory. But Greg Dortch, 9 targets. This team's going to chuck the ball a ton. That's just kind of how they're built right now. And then Bam Knight was just getting hammered. I saw him get hurt probably 2 or 3 times in this one. He did end up racking up 10 touches, 4 catches in this one. But we're expecting Trey Benson coming back at some point. Maybe if Bam Knight can't play, it's going to be Benson and Carter, some kind of split. So we got to watch for this backfield and see what happens in practice this week. Eagles Cowboys. This is a game where we didn't really learn anything. These 2 teams they used the 5 players that they got. You got Hurts, you got Barkley, you got Brown, you got Smith, you got Goddard. Those are the 5 guys. Keep playing these guys. I think Goddard, he's a boom bust tight end option, but you're going to keep plugging away with Devonta, AJ Brown, Barkley, and Hurts. Barkley just continues to not look like himself. He had 8 receptions on the day, which was nice, but he's just not looking at all like his 2024 self. So a bit of a bummer there. Huge game for the Eagles, man. Coming off a loss, they're going to host the Chicago Bears on Black Friday. So I'm looking forward to that game. And again, we didn't really learn anything from the Cowboys either. This is the same kind of style thing where we know Dak Prescott, Javonte, CeeDee, Pickens, and Ferguson. It's literally the same format. where they're just going to give these guys the ball, keep playing these guys. They all had a good fantasy day in this one. And then just George Pickens, man, he's looking really, really good. Like he honestly kind of looks better than CeeDee Lamb right now. I don't know what's going on with George Pickens, but he's playing out of his mind. I hope they give him a bag of money this offseason. Falcons, New Orleans Saints. I don't really want to talk about this one. This one's so gross. Hopefully we get Drake London back here. You'll take your 12-point Bijan Robinson floor. Kirk Cousins will be a super flex option for you. I think he's fine there. Mooney came through with a touchdown, even only on 3 targets. Kirk really spread the ball out, and this team is not a very good, talented offense to spread the ball out. You know, we got David Sills, Dylan Drummond, Tegan Quatoriano, Charlie Warner, just a lot of weird names here. Kyle Pitts, a bit of a bummer. You know, I thought he would be more involved. He did lead the team with targets, but only 2 catches on the day. Just not a big day. They didn't really have to do too much here. Tyler Algier racked up 12 attempts. I think with Drake London back, we're going to like the Falcons a little bit more. And I don't think it's crazy for the Falcons to pull off the NFC South championship yet with the way the Bucs and the Panthers look tonight. But Saints, the big one here, Alvin Kamara. It's got an MCL sprain, I believe it is, which, you know, is usually a week to 2, maybe 3 games at the most. It's going to be Devin Neal. He's going to be your priority waiver wire pickup this week. He looked good as a receiving back, 7 carries, but we don't really care too much for the rushing opportunity from the Saints just because they use Taysom Hill way too much. Can we stop it with the Taysom Hill crap? 10 touches, 10 carries, 18 yards. Like, what are we doing? Can we just stop it? Otherwise, you know, Chris Olave, 13 targets, 9 receptions on the day. Juwan Johnson, 7 targets, 6 catches. Keep playing those 2 guys. And then I think we're going to play Devin Neal as a low-end RB2. Tyler Shuck's barely usable in super flex leagues. But my goodness, can we get rid of Taysom Hill, please? Alrighty, this awful Sunday Night Football game, which thankfully I didn't even want to watch it. Luckily, I didn't miss anything. What did we learn here? Chris Godwin back? Something to think about, but I don't know, man. The big news here is Baker Mayfield left in a sling. His left non-throwing shoulder here got an AC joint sprain. I would like him to rest up for at least 1 game. I don't want to see him take a hit and further ruin the season here. Teddy Bridgewater can take the lumps for at least 1 more game. No Bucky Irving. They're saying he's going to play in week 13 here. I don't know what to make of this backfield. Sean Tucker's going to probably be a guy that gets involved with carries. Rachaad White's going to be a guy that gets involved in the receiving game. But if Bucky Irving's back, you know, are these guys all running back 3 flexes? I'm not quite sure. I think next week, and now we have Teddy Bridgewater to think about. We have Mike Evans maybe coming back. We have Chris Godwin getting more snaps. This whole team is it's in flux, and I don't really feel good about anything. Even Emeka Egbuka, 9 targets, only 3 catches. Like, he almost needs Mike Evans back to kind of help carry the load. And then, of course, nobody plays Tez Johnson in this one. He gets a touchdown. I'm frustrated with the Bucs. I'm not quite sure what to think of it. We got to watch for Teddy Bridgewater. They're saying Bucky's going to play, which is nice. I haven't heard any good reports on Mike Evans yet, so maybe he's another week or 2 away. But this is going to be a team that we got a lot of questions on Tampa Bay right now. And then your Rams. I got no questions with the Rams. They're the best team in football right now. Matthew Stafford's the best quarterback in football right now. Puka and Devontae, that is a sick duo. Devontae's the best goal line player in football. He just catches 1- and 2-yard touchdowns. That's all he does. And then I will say, with Tyler Higbee on IR, Colby Parkinson stepped up, led the team in snaps and routes for the tight ends, 4 targets, 4 catches, and gets a touchdown in this one. I was hoping for some Terrence Ferguson action, but he's still the clear 3 behind Parkinson and Allen. And then the running backs really split the carries 11-7, just nothing happening for Kieran. Frustrating day from the running backs. For them to blow out the Bucs and only get 8 fantasy points between the 2 of them is pretty frustrating, but you're going to keep playing Puka. You're going to keep playing Devontae, keep playing Kieran, and Stafford right now is a top 10 quarterback in fantasy football, probably a top 5 one, honestly, for being real. And then, I don't know, if you need somebody, maybe Colby Parkinson at tight end, maybe I'll add him to the waiver wire column. But we got a good NFC. We kind of have a mini wild card game tonight with the 49ers hosting the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers that's a frisky bunch. I don't expect them to win tonight, but I expect them to make it competitive. But 49ers, they finally got the band back together. Purdy, CMC, Kittle, Jawan, Pearsall. I don't know if we're going to see Ayuk. That Ayuk stuff sounds really weird, but the 49ers are healthy offensively. They're not healthy on defense. This could be a fun game tonight. I think the 49ers pull it off. But either way, with the weird Thanksgiving weekend, I might be able to get a Wednesday night video in. I have to think about when I'm going to do it. But we'll go live tomorrow night, and maybe I go into overtime and we run an extra long show prepping for the week. But with the waiver wire show tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time, we'll see you guys there. And thank you for hanging out with me this evening. Enjoy the Monday night football game, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks. Peace.